Hello and welcome to this Introduction to Sanskrit, Part 4, Semi-vowels, Sibilants, and Aspirants. We have looked at the vowels and consonants. Now we will introduce the semi-vowels and some other special categories. The semi-vowels are ya, ra, la, and va, or in transcription Y, R, L, and V. I made myself a mnemonic to remember them and their order. Just add a few vowels and you get your love. I know you want me to explain what in the world a semi-vowel might be. The reason for the name semi-vowel is that the letters in question usually function as consonants, but either are derived from vowels or remain in an ambivalent state between serving as vowels or consonants. Let's look at each of these for semi-vowels. Ya. Think of some of the ways in which we use the letter Y in English. For example, consider the word dynasty. The Y appears twice in the word, both times as a vowel, first as an I sound, then as an E sound. Then again, there are many times when Y serves as a consonant. Think of words like your, year, etc. Something similar happened in Sanskrit with the same letter, at least over the course of time. There has been an oscillation between ya and the vowel e. For example, look at the word dhyani, which means meditation. Whitney's grammar tells us that in the Vedas, whether the word was pronounced as dhyani or dhyani depended on making the length of the word fit in with the poetical meter in which it occurred. Dhyani, 3 syllables. Dhyani, 2 syllables. For the next 2 letters, I need to postpone actual examples until we come to some of the other requirements of grammar. Then there will be several illustrations. What you will see is that ra, or better yet, with the vowel e, is often traded off with the vowel re that we encountered back when we listed all the vowels. Ra, re, and better yet, if we add the I sound, which we haven't talked about yet, and this becomes re, then for our Western ears, there's very little difference between that, re, and this, re. Also, there is a clear relationship between la, functioning in the role of consonant, and being tag-teamed with the vowel L. Even their signs are very similar. The semi-vowel va has an on-again, off-again relationship with the vowel U. Take the word for the Hindu festival, Diwali. Or should that be Diwali? The standard is not clear. If we use the transliteration Diwali, we're using a sound that comes close to the O or U. If it should be Diwali, then it's more like a consonant. It's interesting to note, by the way, that the same ambiguity is found in Latin, where in classical pronunciation, the V as in vale is supposed to be pronounced as wale. Again, there is an oscillation between V and the U that one has to be aware of. Now we leave the semivowels and start a new category called the Sibilants. These are S-like hissing letters. Earlier on, we mentioned the consonants cha and its aspirant cha. They are consonants and, despite their apparent similarity, are not counted among the Sibilants. The first of the true Sibilants is a little complex, sha. Its pronunciation lies somewhere between cha and sha. We find it as the first letter of the Hindu god Shiva, as we often pronounce the name. The correct pronunciation begins with a sha and is Shiva. The other two sibilants are more straightforward. You can read sha just like the English sh sound, as in shore. The true S is found in sa. It is pronounced with a sharp S, as in sand or sinister. There is no sound like a soft S or Z in Sanskrit, as in ease or zoo. When Hindi became regularized, a sign for that sound in the Devanagari alphabet had to be invented. It was basically a ja with a dot underneath. But that just goes to show that in the Sanskrit version of Devanagari, there was no soft S or Z sound. The next group are the aspirants, not the aspirated consonants, but signs and letters that actually do nothing but stand for aspiration. And of course, there's no mystery about what they do, I assume. They're signals to expel some breath. The letter H functions in Sanskrit just as it does in English, with hat or ham, and it's never silent, as in honest or honor. There is also a sign that you will find frequently, but not exclusively, at the end of a word, particularly if it ends a sentence. It is never a letter in its own right, but is brought in on certain occasions. It looks like a colon in the Latin alphabet or punctuation and is called a visarga. It too calls for an aspiration. For example, the word for elephant is gaja. In the nominative case, it reads gajas. But if it shows up at the end of a sentence, it turns into gajaha. While we're chatting about unusual signs, we need to bring up the so-called anuswara. It creates a nasal sound after the vowel that it crowns, but trails off rather than going all the way to an N. Its sound is very close to the French sound as found in ma. The anuswara is usually merely a dot above its vowel, though there is also the fancier version where the dot rides on an upward turned crescent. In many cases where the dot is used, it takes the place of an awkwardly placed M sound, but it can and does also replace other nasals as well, historically speaking. To illustrate the anuswara, let's look at the word Sanskrit, which you have seen in each of the opening screens in English transcription and in Devanagari. We're going to limit ourselves to the first three letters in the transcription of the word Sanskrit. In Devanagari, these letters are created by the first letter and its anuswara dot. We start with the S. The next letter should be the consonant A, so how do we write that? I'm sure you remember that we don't. It's already there. Remember that a consonant without further indication is followed by A. So as soon as we have written the consonant S, we have Sa. So we need to move on and find a way to write the N. But again, contrary to our instincts, perhaps we don't write an actual N. We place a dot above the Sa, which gives us the nasal sound San. So that's it. The anuswara gives us the nasal N sound, and we have San. Now what follows, the skrit, I need to wait with explaining because there are a few more wrinkles that I need to show you first. Anuswara with the crescent is used rarely. The rule is when a nasal is immediately followed by a sonant, it substitutes for the nasal, and that's all I'm going to say about that at this point. But we can illustrate it with the sacred syllable Om that is a part of Hinduism. There it is up on top of the figure. The Indians themselves call this kind of anuswara the anuswara with a crescent moon.